Welcome to the Inglorious Bards Season 2 wrap-up episode. Yay! Everybody is here. I'm Tom. I'm the Game Master for the group. To my left is Chris, who played the odd, unusual, powerful Devin Page the Mystic.
Why do you call me odd?
And then we
making fun of him. I'm not sure.
No, kind of. Then we have Christopher, who played Augie, the engineer / healer.
Woo.
And we have.
Was he not odd?
He was adorable.
Can't use odd for everything.
Yeah. And then we have the handsome and robust Seth playing the handsome and robust Kolsch. Yes. And then we have Jillian, who played the ambassador Catherine. And last but not least,
just no handsome and robust.
She's a lady.
the girl. Last but not least is Tim, who played the Epo, Epomene Vathis.
I am here.
And also played Albus 47P.
I'm a prophet.
Yeah. So this is just us asking whatever questions we have about the game, the plot, each other, the characters, whatever you want. And then we also have a bunch of questions from people online. Anyone want to dive in first?
I'll start with the softball.
Okay.
What was up with Marsh up in the transfer station?
What was up with Marsh?
Yeah.
The guy in the jumpsuit guy. Yeah. He was just a drunkard who got into a lot of trouble at a eating establishment. Triton something or other.
Yes. Beard.
Something like that. And they didn't like him and they just beamed him up. The problem was the Cassini didn't know that the transfer station had its oxygen depleted. So they unwittingly killed the guy, thinking they were just deporting him per usual.
Right.
And so they took it a little hard, but they had a smile on their face when you told them. So it was kind of hard for them to say. So that's what happened with him.
Okay.
I got 2 questions from Dirk Smash on the Inglorious Bards Discord.
Dirk Smash.
Let's
hear you, Dirk.
Smash.
Dirk asks.
Oh,
No, don't look at that. Dirk asks, was Augie working on a new, and this is the acronym, was Augie working on a new Albus Voice Interpreter User System, an AVS? Like I was hoping he might. Was that happening at all?
That's awesome.
The funny thing is, between August and Epomene, 47P, behind the scenes, so Tim and I talking just in private, we were working on a system to develop different voices. And
we had
I wanted to give him, I was designing for him, but I wanted to give him the creativity, obviously, to choose the voice. But then we came across something which was interesting, where if there was a time we needed to impersonate another person, I could give him his voice, their voice. And so in a manner of speaking, yes, there was a way of working the Avius system in. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
That is I'm sure that we'll get to regrets or whatever, but I think one of the biggest
That'll be the second hour.
I have so many regrets, none of them about this show. I'm going to talk about them.
It's like a post-breakup conversation.
But one of my biggest regrets is that we couldn't mess with Tim Moore and make him do all these crazy voices. I was really excited about it.
I was halfway excited.
Yeah, I think everybody except for Tim was excited about it.
It's a lot of stress to have you jump through hoops on a voice every other time. It's like, oh man.
Dirk Smash, I hope I'm pronouncing that family name correctly, also asks, after listening to the first couple episodes of season 2, I started using Esper Genesis with my D&D group. What changes did you make to the system that you felt made the most significant impact on the gameplay experience? I can say there weren't many changes because it is essentially like 99% D&D. A lot of the changes I made were just tweaks to share a lot of the quote unquote spells. So there were some that were a little more supporty, and I gave them, if they were magical-ish, to Augie instead of the originally for Devin. And then both of those characters also had some more sociable supports. I moved those over to the ambassador, and then I created this whole ambassador class with a hyper lanes combo role-playing system. The changes I made, though, were primarily the ammo system. It has ammo in the game, but it's ridiculous. The light pistol has 15 shots in it. How many times is your battle going to last 15 times?
I don't know. The better question is, how many times are your battles going to last 15 shots?
Yeah, so I reduced that down to 6, and still no one had to reload once. And I kind of wanted that reload tactical mechanic, you know. There's a whole bunch of guys over there, but I'm low on ammo. Okay, I'll stay here, and I'll reload one turn.
Bo was close.
Close?
When he was up against the Rip Claw chief.
Okay.
That just wouldn't die.
Yes. So
Why won't I die?
I changed that, and I think I changed even further. I changed down to 6. I changed that down to 4 bullets. I think there's just too many.
Find me 2.
And then the other thing would be the feats would be the other thing I'd change for the system. It has the Keen Mind, which I think might also be in D&D, and that's where you can permanently recall anything from the last few weeks equal to your intelligence modifier, and I just have to tell you as the DM. And I just think that's kind of weird and a weird cop-out that you don't have to take notes really and just whatever. I'm not a fan of that. And the other one was the sniper, which is the sharpshooter from D&D. It's just, it's in D&D, it is way powerful. And especially when you're ignoring all cover on top of everything else it does. And in a sci-fi game where cover is really important, you can just ignore it all. So I made the sniper not ignore all cover. I just +1 bonus against targets using cover. Other than that, I just ran everything as is. All right. What other questions do you guys have?
I just wanted to quickly say you brought up cover, and I think this was the first time, because in the first probably 4 episodes, when we got into our first serious combat, it was kind of lackadaisical use of cover, and then you found out just how deadly things were when you got nicked, and it's like, all right, that's 15 points, our main hitter's down, and use cover, oh my god. Then everyone the next episode on, and I'll take some cover.
No one's moving.
Yeah, it seemed like it felt like some of the combat was overtuned. Like I felt like we were way more on the edge of every single combat than we were in season 1. Like, you know, like I felt like season 1, a lot of the combats were difficult. You know, we had some hairy moments, but like in season 2, I felt like we were always a tenth of a second away from absolute catastrophe.
Well,
I totally agree.
I can't. Yeah,
At the end, when we all died except for Augie,
yeah, and then there's that moment.
I was really, really sad to see Kolsch die, but I was also sort of just relieved. I was just like, oh, we're not gonna have every episode basically almost die and be worried about it.
I felt that there's 2 that were particularly deadly. One was the Rutledge confrontation near the end in his office, and that absolutely needed to be. That was a hornet's nest of trouble going into. The other one, though, was the Ganger Chief, which on our Patreon was voted the favorite battle of everyone that voted on that one. And the challenge for that was I just gave the dude too many hit points. So he just kept staying and kept staying. It's like, holy cow. So, and it just got too hilarious for me to let him go. So,
you'd slip him an extra 5 and 10. No, keep chasing August through the ductwork there. That's funny.
God.
I enjoyed him. I like riding things to the edge. I thought the Chadra battle was good, but I don't think that was too much overkill.
No, Chadra was.
Yeah, Chadra's good.
Speak for yourselves.
Worst one was definitely the security robot. That was definitely our worst combat.
Was that?
No, you mean the customs bot.
Oh, that was the best one.
Biggest villain.
But like when we went
Hated that
into
thing.
the area with all the fellow like mystic type people underground.
Yep.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
and like
Definitely almost
we
died.
like we had to run away, and then
Yeah, but
Yeah, we were exhausted.
That you guys
Hell,
were
when we
exhausted.
got
That had nothing
there.
to do with balance. You guys were just you had
Right.
no spells
But
ready.
what would have happened if we'd waited a day?
Same thing.
Yeah, I mean, like what did that?
There would have been 11 episodes this season.
I kind of feel like that's what would have happened.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree with that.
yeah.
Just shitting this clawing at windows and oh, that's keeping me
So
up.
what did cause the implosion? Like why did that occur?
Yeah, let's not beat around the bush here. How come the dome disappeared?
Yeah.
How come the dome disappeared? The dome disappeared because those guys had control of it and they built their little base section around having total control of it. So the concept to me is, how did the season end? It certainly ended much sooner than we had anticipated. Although, as you mentioned, it could have happened so many times earlier.
Yeah.
That Ganger chief, I think, was generously saying maybe 2 combat rounds away from a total party wife.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe one. Maybe one.
Yeah.
So it could have happened earlier. And I think there was another battle. I can't remember when. That again was like really starting to get bad. But for this one, this whole situation, it wasn't to me even a moment in that last episode or a couple or even that episode. For me, it was decisions leading up to that episode you guys made that were not bad decisions at all. There was just a branch of a path that starts going down a certain direction. And how I likened it is like if this was a Wild West game from the old days and you guys went to a mining town that was surrounded by Apache Indians that wanted to wipe out everyone in the town, and there's an evil miner and things go horribly wrong and you're like federal marshals and you get kicked out of town with your tail between your legs. You go back to DC, they say, go back in there, you now have authority, and you go back in not with the cavalry at your back, but with a piece of paper. And you go all the way in the middle of nowhere to this town, and it's just like you are going into a nightmare. This is really going to be dangerous. So the danger, and I think I should have re-emphasized the physical danger at the end of episode 10 or the start of episode 11, just reminding you there's still all of these bugs. This is, even if you do really well inside, there's still a possible huge threat outside. And then things started to happen. Then you had the big battle, this big confrontation, which I thought was going to take a lot of surreptitiousness, maybe some guerrilla warfare. You guys landed, didn't even unpack. You go marching right up to Rutledge, and it's just like boom, and everything.
And then we were gonna leave, and then like Augie was like, "Give me your computer." And like, we're like, oh shit!
Like, it's legal now.
Right?
What could go wrong? Had you have told me the security bot was in the room, I probably would have slowed my roll a little bit.
Oh, that's what it was.
How did this is a weird question, but how did Rutledge and the witch get off of Fayek 4?
She teleported him to their place, their lab, which was underneath Warehouse H. And then she had an ability to do that again even further, but could not send anyone but him for a long time. So he got to go away. She did not. She, by the way, was waiting in the basement underneath the space dock.
For you.
I wish I would have gotten to kill her. So bad.
So did Aki run into her at some point?
I don't know, because we just kind of fast forwarded once everything kind of came to an end there. And I was like, oh, at that point,
yeah, we're done here.
dragging that out. Yeah, I didn't want that to happen. But so I assumed she just got consumed. But going back to the other concept, it's like you guys are now going, hey, we're going to go to Warehouse H. After this huge battle with Rutledge, you guys are exhausted. And those guys you first ran into were a below average encounter, certainly not a dangerous or deadly one, but you guys were just exhausted.
Yeah.
You're taking hits right off the bat, and it's kind of a half of you let's go, half of you not, and then you kind of all went. I think it was a good decision. The problem is in my games, things keep going, and these guys are now not only screwed and they can't easily leave, but you guys trap them in there their leader's just gone and said that the jig is up, and so they only have one big play left to go.
Yeah, they Jim Jones that.
Yeah. And their play is they're going to detonate and they're going to collapse this dome, and then you guys are screwed and you've got to get the hell out of there unless you can get back in there. And then you guys rested that night.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had like the continental breakfast and you chatted about different plans. Then you went to Warehouse H and you're starting, okay, let's do an air thing. Let's do a water thing.
Yeah.
Then let's bring in a water guy and he takes forever to come. And I'm just like, oh my God, they have like minutes to get in there to get to this final fast action-packed crazy climax. Can they stop for the dome? And I'm like, oh man, that time limit has just gone way by. It's like, get in there, guys, get in. And then you did. And it's like, okay, there's this huge boom. And we ended episode 11 and then the dome comes down. And a couple of you were like, oh, okay. I'm like, no. The dome is down. And then I remember in like the next week we had off, I'm just texting you guys, man, I'm just really concerned, guys. This is really serious. I'm having trouble figuring this part out to stick with the danger and the situation and what should happen in my mind. So in my thought process was, when we start this episode, my goal is to make very clear the stakes. So in the intro, it was Augie looking out, seeing the dome's gone, and I made sure 3 things were clear. 1, Augie, you knew that a lot of people were going to die. 2, more people would die if you guys didn't help. And 3, and I've really stressed this, if you guys are not out on a shuttle, you're dead. And my thing was, are they going to stay and protect? I don't think so, because in the week in between, just private texting, Seth said, oh, I've got some ideas. They'll save us, but I don't know about the people. And I was like,
have some ideas.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so they're probably going to go that route then. And I'm thinking, that's not good for them as prophets, but that could be interesting.
Well, I think it's just like one of those things that it felt like it was really drilled home that we're prophets, we're the good guys, we save people, we save people.
For Albus, there was no question.
Like it had become an identity, and it wasn't even likely we would survive if we got to a shuttle. So like, what are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna like go out in a blaze of glory, or are you gonna go out with your tail between your legs? Like, you gotta take your best shot.
Yeah, it was definitely, and I agree 100% with Jillian there that it had been, you're prophets, you're there to save people, you're there to help people, this is your job. So when it's like we could leave, it's like that's not
an option.
That's not really an option for us because we're prophets.
I had no idea. That's impressive to me, because the background is you have Catherine, who's a former pirate. You have Kolsch, who's a former pirate alongside her.
But now
to have gone through an arc where they are now like they don't just want to be police. They don't want to say they're prophets. Will they commit? And my mind is, especially with that text of Seth saying, oh, I can maybe save us. I'm thinking, okay, do we do things where they have to keep this a secret of how they only got away from the rest of the prophets? Do we have a trial situation? The campaign shifts over into their mercenary. I don't know what's going to happen, or I don't know if they'll stand up. And then the moment happened, and it was the Council of Elrond scene where everyone's banging, and Frodo says, I'll take it. It was a Catherine, and she says, all right, everyone, let's go to the Anatana and save him. And I knew right there, wow, is this really going to happen? And then as we're driving and we're going, I'm pointing out as Albus is driving, you see all these roads passing you can see way down, and you just see this sea of bugs coming. I'm emphasizing that. And I said, as you pull up, you're heading left, takes you to safety of the dock, Albus, but straight takes you into trouble. And he says, oh, no, Albus is the guardian. He's going forward.
That's when I knew, we're done.
I'm like, it's happening. Wait, then let me finish one more thing. And then as you pull in, and Albus charges right up, and I think there was some little line or discussion going on between Catherine and Kolsch, and I think Catherine went in, and then Kolsch is about to, and I say, Kolsch, just, you can see coming in a couple, 30 seconds. By the time you go up into the elevator, this whole thing will be filled with bugs. If you go in, there will be no way to get out. And you didn't hesitate. You said, oh yeah, I'm going in after Catherine. And I was like, wow.
Hey, Seth's idea, but also Kolsch, both my ideas that I had cooked up were not to abandon everyone else, but they were both to get to the Vesper and bring the Vesper down, because then there's not only the shuttle, but like we can provide a bunch of cover fire, like that has heavier weaponry than, you know, plus get people off that way.
That's why Devin chose to try to get to the Vesper. Well, there are actually two calculations there. Based off the roll, I had above a 50% chance of succeeding. So I was like, okay, like, you know, if I'd been below 50%, I'm just gonna fucking blow up. Right? But I was above 50%. I was at like 60 or 65% based off what my modifier was. And I'm like, if I can get into the Vesper, then I can actually, you know, provide more assistance and start, you know, kind of destroy some stuff. At the time, Devin didn't know that both Catherine and Kolsch were dead.
That's true.
So, and like Augie was still alive. So he was also thinking about kind of going through that whole process of getting Augie, trying to get to the antenna, you know, gunning down as many bugs as he could on the way, which is why I chose the, you know, non-glorious death route, because I thought it would actually, you know, maybe save the party. But
Yeah, don't worry about Albus. You didn't mention him at all.
Albus was already dead, right?
But you didn't know.
There's still a cocooned voice chip somewhere.
Yeah.
You didn't know
The
Albus.
chip still can speak.
You were a late addition.
I'm in here.
Did the Vesper survive?
The Vesper survived, yes.
It's a relic on this planet.
That was my number one most important question.
The Vesper survived.
It's a hive
So,
now.
so I was not excited about the possibility of ending the campaign, and I'm a fan of these characters, but at the same time that you guys stuck to it and went down in glory, I was proud of these characters. And again, just look back, and I keep using Catherine as the reference. She was fighting with Valencia, saying, if you're going to get rid of Epo, this is not for me. And to go from that to certain death, and yes, we're prophets. We pretend. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Should have we done a different mission?
A lower level. Can we grind a little bit?
Maybe a side mission or something first?
Maybe go see how the
Just need to get to level 6.
If Devin would have hit that roll and survived, potentially survived,
Oh, don't do this to yourself.
would we have still ended the campaign?
I don't know, because then we would have had, I think, a pretty strong core then still of Devin and Augie.
And just us watching them as they play.
The other three of you are just sitting there.
A cold stare as we
gallery,
just
literally.
look back across a sea of black to you and just, no, sorry.
Tied to this, I have Frank in Arizona who asks, what would have happened if they would have gone to another planet to battle the spider creature?
I want to know what that pink chadra was.
Yeah.
Pink Chadra was Chadra reborn.
Oh.
So Chadra's reborn. It does not have its memory, so it wouldn't know you as its killers or anything, but would still have its drive and its purpose, but it's reborn back in its spot again.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what was that planet all about? Like,
Borasia?
yeah, what
good
was
memory.
like, yeah, that's very nice. Talk to me about Borasia.
Borasia. Well, to go here, and here's my challenge. I'm going to say this to Seth because, like, all of your questions I can't answer, Seth, because
I know.
because there's I'm gonna share some information, but there's so much stuff and content that we didn't get to explore in this campaign. Like, I don't want to burn it all.
Right.
But I will say this. There was essentially a race, if you will, to acquire X for some unknown reason. And maybe there's a couple X's out there, this MacGuffin type thing. And multiple groups from different walks of life, from different existences are becoming aware of this at the same time. And they all want to get their hands on some X. And The
A big bag that says drugs.
It's gonna be a wild rave.
So the Legion, a special sect of the Legion, they needed to get a stone that was charged with special light and see if they could pull that off so they could start their journey to going down that. There were a bunch of old people on a ruined Borasian planet that had information that Chandra could access, was supposed to protect, and Chandra's really, really old. Almost like a vampire can come back unless you put the stake through its heart type of a concept. And some other group that you never even met yet were able to take control over Chandra and have it start looking for X. And then there was I think there were two other groups. Another one you met in our Lost episodes, that was the Warriors in White. Those guys, remember those from episode CD of the Lost episodes? Those guys were also looking for X. So it was a whole bunch of no one knowing that other people are after this, and you guys not even aware what the game was yet at this point. So
Interesting.
So, and that would have been one route. The Barasia might have given you some hints of what it could be. Chandra, I don't know if you could have, I don't know what would have gone on there either, but that was another route, and it was totally ready for you guys to go there too.
And of course, Rutledge was looking for X.
Rutledge was not. He was not aware of that. Rutledge was my favorite NPC villain for a long time. I really loved playing him just because he kept winning in non-combat ways. I really dug that. And I dug when you guys got him too. And then, but his thing was he became an archetypical, silly, wacky, they'll see how powerful I am because he got corrupted by his own blue glow. So he was just the whole blue glow was...
Jillian wasn't having any of that shit.
No.
That was a douche. Wait, did we answer this question, by the way?
What's it?
That question that you just asked? I just yelled about Big Chandra. That was all that really happened.
What would have happened if they would have gone to the other planet? It would have been a whole...
Was that a lower level?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it would have been a whole different thing.
I'm still
Let it
curious.
go.
I'm curious.
I have a question for Tim. Tim.
Wait, did we finish his question though?
It was one of several missions you guys could have gone. I was ready for that. I was ready for the Rip Claw refueling situation.
Yeah.
That I have a really fun deserty situation set up for that. I was excited about. We totally left the whole Epo's friend left in a safe house. He still had some
Not
mystery. Not Epo. I'm sorry, Augie's friend.
Yeah.
That's my last one for this season. That guy, there's a couple different things going on, and then I have a few more I want to talk about later too. But
So in other words, we could have gone to another location, and then we would have seen this planet just go black, and then
yeah,
okay,
yeah. Solor would have just imploded, and then it would have been more of a Fashawn situation. We screwed over Solor. Yeah, so I had Fashawn set up. Fashawn was a war zone situation because this whole other alien race we never got to, the Swarm, were coming in because that was his big test. If this works on these creatures, let's scale up this blue glow test and let's put it at this planet that just happens to have the second largest mining conglomeration in the universe. We'll put it on this planet, and now all the Swarm are going to Fashawn. So there's a huge naval thing with Nova Alliance trying to hold off the Swarm. So I had all sorts of stuff for you guys to get more information. And then Rutledge's last step was, okay, if that works, let's do it for real. Hey, Nova Alliance is now mine. I have control over any violent thing.
We stopped
the
a
rabbit hole
really big
gets
bad
deeper.
thing happening by dying.
yeah, but there are like 1,200 other big bad things that were happening. We saw one.
It's a big universe.
That's right.
Yes.
Lots of big bad things. So, Tim, why did you leave Epo?
It boils down to Epo. Epo was just finding himself as a character in the last 2 or 3 episodes before the big mishap. And I was really liking his like.
You know, like stab somebody.
Yeah,
Multiple times.
I was really liking his snarkiness and his just indifference and his cluelessness, and I could not figure out a way to remediate that without totally affecting his character.
Totally.
So I just decided it would be easier just to start fresh.
It was interesting because Catherine was like, this guy is a problem and I have no idea what to do with him. So when you like removed it, it made like that much easier, but it would have been interesting to see like how that would have come to a head eventually.
Yeah, I thought hard about it, like, because I liked Epo a lot, but I felt like he would change too much as a person.
Totally.
Yeah, I got a few people that gave me questions to ask, and one of them from Matt W was, did you have any regrets over Epo? Like any regrets over choices you made?
I feel like it's a very pointed question.
Like the point of a dagger.
I regret rolling so well.
Why couldn't it have been a flesh wound?
I mean, Epo definitely thought this guy was a
You
danger.
regretted not devoning.
What's that?
You regretted not devoning.
Yeah, yeah.
Chris will be
So last
so
time.
happy when that goes.
I mean, Epo just wanted to like
Season 3 can't happen
silence
soon enough.
silence this warehouse guy because he knew he was going to bring in some big guns and that it would snowball. So he just did it too well. And then the rest of you guys are like, "What just happened?"
Yeah.
I feel like I was kind of the lone man out there.
Oh.
You violated the first tenet of being a prophet.
Yeah, I mean that's
No
sort of
stabby
how
stab.
No stabby
Go
stab.
on.
Yes.
sort of how Elmon felt in season 1
Yeah,
sometimes.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Eric in Texas on along this says, having Epo get busted down was tough to deal with. From Tim's perspective, what was Epo's future going forward? What happened when he left?
That's a great question. I don't think he didn't ever go back to where he came from, for sure. He probably the mercenary route.
Okay.
You became a button man for the prophets.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
That was cool.
kind of like
That
that
was
last
awesome.
I
episode
love
wrapped
that
up.
ending.
That's what Epo would have done. I see that happening.
A lot of buffus.
Eric, and jump in if you have anything. Eric in Texas also asks, Albus 47P was comedy gold. Becoming a man was a priceless moment for Albus. Which voice did Tim like most or least in portraying Albus?
I liked Albus's original voice the most. I kind of regretted. This is not a Epomony regret, but Albus regret was changing his voice to begin with. I liked that voice the most. The
That was
voice,
so funny though. Like,
yeah, it was.
And in such an
I was
awkward
all off
way.
guard.
Oh.
The voice I liked the least was probably Jim Jim.
You did it so well, though.
So hilarious because you didn't know any context about who Jim Jim
Not
was.
at all. So I just had to like
this
come
chain
up with
smoker.
something.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's a kid's entertainer.
Dusty the
Yeah, I
Clown.
had no clue who Jim Jim was.
We did this the Nova News thing, and this little article about Jim the Magic Blob, beloved Blob, who died. And Tim was out of the room for like 2 hours because he was not there. Epo was gone.
I was not even.
And then he comes in, and like an episode or two later, we give him the Jim, and Tim has no idea. So he just makes something up, and suddenly he's this chain-smoking Krusty the Clown's voice.
I loved how many
Beloved by children everywhere.
Hey, kids. Time to sit down and rub my feet.
Yeah, just space churros.
Rub my blob right here.
Tom,
He'd be like, what is happening?
how many Nova News Alliance blurbs?
Oh my
did you
God,
have?
was I so disappointed.
Sometimes you didn't
You
give
only
up.
did once where I didn't give it to you, and then 2 episodes later, I think Tim said, I'm gonna check Nova News, and I gave it to you, and I had him ready to go. And I've got a little note here because I was gonna bring this up. I was hurt. I love the Nova News.
Season 3, there's going to be a Nova News blur. Like when it doesn't even make sense.
Let's see.
Just from season
You're in the
2.
middle of a fight, and it's like, Nova News says. And you're like, wait.
There was going to be a mission to protect, this is tying into Nova News, you were going to be given a mission by the prophets to protect a close ally of the president, who you all report to, of the Nova Alliance. He needs a friend protected from kidnapping. It's a woman and a long-term ally of the president's who would be met with her own security detail but you would have to keep an eye on her, be with her while she goes to all these different public appearances. She was going to be difficult to handle because her name was Queen Baby, the teen pop star from the Nova News.
Oh my god, that's my next character.
Yeah.
You remember her?
So I planted that like 12 episodes in advance, kind of a thing to call back on that
Definitely
one.
my next
Oh,
character.
man.
I love Jim the Magic Blob. The next news item was going to be about the DNAC Trade Worlds. If anyone sees our map on the Patreon, there's a section called DNAC Trade Worlds. They're run by the cartels. And there was going to be a reason for you guys to go there and start busting up and causing trouble for a really powerful cartel that Catherine had an intimate connection with that messed with her family. So I was really looking forward to that. And the news article was going to mention by name, and I wanted her to just that light bulb to go off and her to go, we got to go there. And then actually the very next news item was going to be about the solar array and how the brave prophet saved it. I wanted to incorporate you guys into the news as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I really wanted that. I wanted you guys checking that every day. I was so excited. Wait, hold on. Can we do one last Nova news?
Sure.
I've got one.
And then
I've got one. News
Planet Overworld.
stories.
Would you like to know more?
In other news, Drake Industrial Liquid and Hazardous Biocontainment has recalled their line of Happy Surprise Time breakfast cereal. A substantial amount of unclassified meat filler with a mutagen count far above the legal limit has been found across numerous samples of this children's breakfast. Parents are encouraged to return any unopened breakfast pucks, and if unusual behavior is detected in children, call their local police immediately and do not make direct eye contact with their child.
Oh, that'd have been awesome.
Do not taunt
don't water them. Don't feed them after midnight.
I have a question for the group. How did we feel about switching systems, and did it change your character?
So if any of you don't know, we started out using the Starfinder role-playing system. I went on a big rant on that there's a Patreon audio where I just go on and on and on about all the challenges with it. It was
Take away my question. I understand.
it's a good system for a lot of people. It just did not work for me, but we were 4 episodes in when I asked everyone, hey, can we switch? Because I think this isn't going to work, especially over the long term for the kind of stories I want to tell. And thankfully, everyone was very accommodating and we changed things. So that's why we have 4 episodes that were never released, though they're on, 2 of them currently are on Patreon. They're the lost episodes, A, B, C, D. And then we started anew with like a new dimension, if you will, a new copy of the universe with the Esper Genesis system. And that was episode 1. So if you're ever wondering why there was a really good connection and teamwork, it's because they had 4 episodes before you even heard them on episode 1. So your question one more time was?
How did we feel about the Switch, and did it change your characters at all?
I have some input on that.
Oh.
So I enjoyed the Switch, and it
Way easier.
drastically affected my character because, like, my character was originally a healer type, which I was really excited about. But then that got ruined.
But I was excited about the change.
With this DPS character that I didn't know what to do with. No, I'm kidding. I mean, like, I definitely liked the healer concept from the previous system, but then I think level 3 when I actually got
All the psionic points.
Yeah, when I got some more psionic points, I was really getting into my character, and then like total party wiped happened, and very shortly afterwards. So
Augie, you I think had the biggest change because you went from a pet class in Starfinder. You had this drone that would walk around
To being a pet.
to being you were still a quote unquote engineer, but the engineer is a 100% cleric healer. How was that transformation for you?
It was interesting. Felt liberating and overpowering and overwhelming at the same time, because it was great having the whole pet class concept, and that guy was like focused engineer, and then somehow, I don't know why you all let me do this, I was both engineer and doctor.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's kind of like it was the only.
I know, but it was just weird. And honestly, the first time that ever happened, that kind of dual classing, if you will, because, you know, you all had combat covered and everything covered on that end. And I was like, holy crap, without Catherine, covering my ass half the time, I would be like, there's no way I could like fill up, Kolsch's health or, take care of all. Devin wasn't really a problem.
Just keep him above zero.
Just above zero
I was
was fine.
unconscious most of the time.
But yeah, that was that part was it was tough losing a pet because I love the whole concept. But I think the switch to that classing and the unintentional dual classing really had a lot of fun options to it. So I was cool with it. The only other thing, if I can add in real quick, was the changeover from the last system on a logistics level, going from space to space, really measuring out the distance, to the more abstract
how
distance.
we do combat.
How we do travel and combat and all that. That was huge. That was massive, especially doing podcasting and stuff like that. And that was
In what a good way, bad way?
in a
Just different?
huge good way.
Oh, okay.
Huge good way, because you were measuring out in silence, maybe not always, but to visualize. I'm taking 3 spaces to go towards Kolsch and then do my thing, but counting it out, looking at the screen.
Yeah.
I just think the other system worked way better.
Yeah, we did
Anya's for the change.
battle maps and this season, I think episodes 1 through 9, I put together simple battle maps with the spaces, and it was fun. It was tactical, but for the podcast, as opposed to just a normal game, it get really slow. I want to move here. No, next to, no, back up one.
Yeah.
No, next to, yeah, that one. And it was just happening over and over. And then what's the range on that? And we're counting. It was just taking too long. So we just went to more abstract, and it seemed to work.
It was beautiful.
I enjoyed that the secondary battle system that we moved to. I think it was a lot quicker. It flowed better. Just had a better feel to it. All in
Just
all.
relative. Where are you relative to the other guys? Do you have something else, Jillian?
I sure do, Tim. I have a couple questions from our favorite listener from Buffalo MJ. We talked a little bit about what made us decide to end the campaign here instead of have the team create a new prophet and continue the story. I think you mentioned having like the backbone of a team versus just one person. But this is a question I have as well. Thank you, MJ. Is there anything you are particularly bummed you didn't get to do? And are there any for us, either for GMs or for us? And then in general, for the players, what story threads do you wish you were able to pull?
Wait, what was the last part?
What story threads do you wish you were able to pull?
Well, I'll jump right in. I'm sorry. Did you want to go in? Okay. No, I had a huge fun concept arc thing, which was this great character connection with Devin, which I was looking to explore, and the cartel, which we didn't get around to, and the trade system planet. So that whole thing. So the whole thing behind August's backstory was that his race is pretty much enslaved almost all the time. They're wicked smart, but they're, just constantly, taken into captivity and whatnot, and just dominated by the cartel, who Devin had come in at some point in his life and saved a huge portion of not only his family, but just, the race in general from these planets, and wanted to exact some crazy ass revenge over there and do that kind of fun concept. And I was really looking forward to exploring that with Devin, because that would have been a great,
Cool.
Yeah,
those emotional connections.
Yeah.
play that out. I was definitely when we had talked about it. It's another, that's definitely a thing that I was interested in connecting with as well. As far as threads go, I forget. I think Devin really wanted to go to that other planet where the Shadra was.
Yeah.
But he sort of like didn't want to push too hard, and when everybody else wanted to go,
You guys voted, and which way to go?
And that was a level 3 system too.
yeah.
Not a level 12.
Not a level, whatever the hell we were at. Yeah.
I have a bunch of content I wanted to explore because there's a lot that I put out that was ready to go. The Legion I mentioned, the Legion had on our map is a huge section of space.
Yeah.
Broad stroke wise, they're like our Klingons, and there were different sects, and one sect you were interacted with. I was ready for a lot more of that. I wanted to go back and see what would happen more with the Alliance Science Corps, because that building, that group were allies with the Prophets, but man, they were overly heavily securityed, very kind of standoffish. I wanted to see how they could help you. Could they maybe be bad guy? I was really interested in those guys. I wanted to go to Fashan and see if you guys could deal with the swarm that Relich's plan dealt with.
I wanted to go to Fashan.
There's a big section on the map called the Breach on the far side of the galaxy. Yeah, that was interesting. There were 2 cool upgrade items, magic items, if you will, at the bottom of Warehouse H in the laboratory you guys never had a chance to get to.
Damn it.
Yep.
What were they?
One was a bomb.
One was a healing device that I think was a couple times, maybe 2 or once or twice per day or something. When you used it and you healed someone 5 or more hit points, you would then heal them 5 more hit points. And on the last charge of the day, it would also reback to you for 5 hit points. So that's a big healing item. And the other one was a mystical psionic item that when someone resisted with a saving throw, one of your Esper abilities, you would get back 2 psionic points, I think twice per day or once per day.
For me, right?
No, it was for Devin, but to help recuperate some of the loss, that'd be pretty cool. Also, everyone had 2 contacts that I handed out late in the game.
That's the question I wanted to ask like 10 minutes ago.
So everyone had 2 contacts just to give you guys people to reach out to help or what have you. And the ones that I was really, I liked them all, but I was really excited was Devin had a reporter lady friend who was a little clingy and a little too much interested in Devin. I wanted to see that and that squirminess because I know Devin wouldn't like that. And then the other was similarly.
You always throw that like romance shit at me.
I love it. And then Catherine had a space pirate bad boy former boyfriend who was really, really bad for her that she could not resist. And Kolsch knows
Kolsch
this.
wants to meet that guy.
I know. I so wanted that to happen.
bad.
I wanted to create that division between the 2 of you and then see what I so wanted that badly. Continuing on with the missed content, this is really personal to me. There was a timed event coming because again, when I do these games, there's big things that are going on. So if you go to one plan or one adventure, other things are happening. One was a chief situation on the Valna homeworld was starting to get Kolsch's father and family kicked out of the tribe. So you were going to need to be recalled and you were going to bring your friends back and have a home turf situation to contend with, coming back not as the rejected boy, but now as a prophet.
Yeah.
I was very interested in that.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I know. And then finally, there were in the engineering room 2 different levers that were never pulled.
Oh, God.
Do you remember the 2 levers? One was labeled motion tracking defense.
Yes.
And the other
Had 3 initials or something.
RIVA.
Riva, that's right.
The motion tracking defense, if you pulled that, it would immediately identify whoever pulled it down as safety, and anyone else who entered engineering would be mowed down by miniguns.
Wow.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
Hey guys, look at this.
Oh, God.
And RIVA standard for Railed Independent Vessel Assistant, and a track running throughout the entire ship in the ceiling would have a little robot a la Portal 2 that would run around and could assist you and could lightly try and give you some minor guidance from the Sterilon sphere because it has a little bit more of a connection to the ship and could be able to fly the ship.
What?
That brings me to a question.
Pull. Wait, I can't just say default pull all levers because that would just be trouble.
Yeah.
Sarah,
Yes.
what was his connection with Devin?
Its connection was it had no connection necessarily with Devin. It had it had a connection with whoever. It's like a bird type birth, like whoever first sees it. So when it came out of the box, your captain realized if one of you guys is going to be involved, let's have it be the mystic, and it would have an imprint on you. And the whole concept behind it was kind of to be like the soul of the TARDIS from Doctor Who, so that It's not flying the ship. It doesn't care about you. It doesn't talk to you. It's not a computer. But yet, maybe, just maybe, if things are going horribly wrong, it might nudge something in the right direction. Or if you have a terrible navigational incident, it might put you to a mission you have no reason to ever go towards. That was the intent behind it. And right at the end, I believe, Seth, you passed over to Chris a message of, see if you can bring the Sterlon sphere. And I'm like, that's exactly what this is designed for. This is perfect. This might save Devin, but it didn't work out.
Nope.
We should have done that first.
Yeah.
I was really banking though on the Crustinis sending like just going over there and cussing up the storm and getting sent up
that
to
was a good. That was a good attempt.
But,
Yeah.
you know,
Tim, what was yours? You said a contact question. You've been waiting.
My question was what those
okay.
were those contacts?
Yeah, I was really
we
interested
didn't
in
really-
meeting my
Yeah.
my
We
former
met one of
flame
mine
girl.
immediately.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, sweet.
Yeah, and Albus one. It was really to give me some little ways to get plot stuff in, but then also just for you guys to, you're not just completely alone in the universe. You can go call your reporter person and get some details, or call your security guy and get some information. What other questions you guys have? I still
I
have
have one
Go for it.
from one of our Facebook friends, Chris B. He says, "Hey, so my question for the podcast is, what was the inspiration for switching to the futuristic space, I think, campaign, as opposed to sticking with D&D?"
For me, it was just to change things up. We had done D&D. We do lots of campaigns, lots of different things. Just in the last few years, we did a little bit of D&D. Then we did Doctor Who for a couple episodes. Then we did a sci-fi campaign with the Cypher system for like 7 months. Then we did an underwater Lost-like game that was really cool. Then we did the podcast with, and this is just in the last few years, let alone all the games for decades before that, but we've done a lot of different systems. So we did D&D. We did it for a long time, and I just thought something different and a switch, and looked at different role-playing systems. I thought, let's try sci-fi, because you can go anywhere. You can go to any planet. Anything can happen. And that's one of my regrets, as we just ended up with Solor heavy. That place of Solor, of all the other places we could have gone, all different worlds and quote unquote, sci-fi magical places to go visit, like an underwater world and a world of all crystals and all that kind of cool stuff. We just didn't get that chance yet. So.
I felt like we were kind of guided towards Solor through like kind of the prophet stuff happening, that like it sort of felt like we should be going there.
I know, but then you guys went back again. And it's nothing wrong.
No, and it, like when we went back, it felt
really?
like we were like, because it was the Valencia and the lawyer guy, and like they're like, oh, we have this like master plan to make this work, and then like we had the right contact to make it work, and like, and I know we discussed it. We're like, do we really want to go back because we think we're gonna get our asses kicked? But like, it seems like all the stars are aligning to point us in this direction.
Well, you should never trust Tom.
Damn it.
NTT.
Why don't we listen to ourselves?
That's what you say. Yeah, I was ready for a lot of different routes for you guys to go.
I was wondering, this is more of a positive, did everybody have like a couple favorite moments?
Oh, for sure. My favorite moment by far was August, his striptease.
August Flash.
Oh my gosh.
The dance of the seven veils.
That was
It was
that whole
unexpected.
interaction was fun.
Oh my
like,
god.
that
Ipo
whole-
doing magic tricks, a bag of drugs, Catherine just sneaking away.
I know.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, in the normal situation with a bunch of weird Mohawk gang guys, and they probably haven't seen a woman in a long time. And here's Catherine, she's engaging with them, and here's going to be some dancing, and she points to the rodents with multiple nipples. It was just fantastic.
This is the worst part about improv 101. Yes, and okay. I will certainly dance for you, and I will get wet doing it. Yes.
The best use of
that item.
Yes, beautiful.
Like, this is why you
That
got
was
that.
Totally what I had in mind.
Oh my god, I was dying.
Laughing during that episode.
I liked, and one of my favorites was that same episode, but at the beginning of the school assembly.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
it just starts ratcheting up and uncomfortable and more, and then you end up arresting the child, Epo, and then more and more, and then the curtain goes up, and then Augie's watching Nevi porn on this 3D thing with Timmy up. Oh, it was so good.
Nevi porn.
Oh.
Yeah.
One of my, those are great moments. One of my favorite was coming in mid-episode and
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Seeing our faces when you spoke.
As Elvis,
and
Yeah.
is introducing Albus.
described as, soulless eyes and dark and huge and menacing, and then your first line right after that.
Oh my god.
They were
three.
I have no soul. Yeah, everyone was stunned.
That was
That
fun.
was great.
That
I
was
think
good.
when I got on a good roll of wicked insults, I
Oh,
that was a
man.
lot of fun.
Oh
And
yeah.
then when they didn't work out, I was like, God damn it!
You took that concept to a new level for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just I use, whatever discouraging word, whatever you had.
I know.
There were some
Alive.
really beautiful moments in
We're
there.
really good at that.
Yeah.
Like everyone in the fight, the good guys and bad guys would all stop and turn to Catherine and just
like,
go,
oh.
dude.
Immediately, I want your stuff to be like area effect. It's not one.
Right, yeah.
Everyone, friend or foe. I need to call mom.
Jimmy leans over to Bob and is
Start,
like,
like helping each other. They're
Pretty
like,
much, yeah.
"God, she's so mean.
yeah. It's like, was his mom really like that? How does she know?
I have two favorite moments. And the first one is very visual. And it is, we have just come out of space. I think we might have tried our drive for the first time kind of thing. This was us chasing or trying to find someone in particular, but we end up finding the world ship.
We were sent there
Yeah,
because of some
we were
distress signal. Or,
Trying
Yeah.
to find this group.
Trying to find this thing. So this thing's clad in some sort of, visual perception filter kind of thing. And then we come out. And so we've got the benefit of a television screen. And there's this big picture of this giant ship. And I'm trying to visualize out of the blackness with nebula and all this kind of thing around it. This beautiful, massive construct just appearing out of nowhere. Just set the tone just perfectly. Really giddy on the inside. That was like a whole world. It's a world ship, but a whole world of adventuring could be done in this thing. So I was really giddy about that. And the other was inside the ship itself. First big dramatic moment for me. Catherine disappears into this pit where creatures are already swarming around and whatnot. And I'm thinking we've lost our first player already done. And I'm like, holy crap. Because, Tom doesn't screw around when it comes to some of these moments. And it was just a series of bad rolls. Wasn't bad decisions.
Epo was right behind you, too.
Oh,
Yeah, Ipo jumped right back down behind her.
yeah. And literally, we had just started.
That was really
It was like,
yeah.
okay.
And if it had been anyone else captured, it probably would have been much, much worse because you talked your way out of that.
And that was actually one of my favorite moments, just listening to it, where she does her persuasion roll, gets a natural 20, and the guy's getting ready to stab her in the leg, and is like, shit, I can't do that.
That was me, Tom, my response.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
really disappointed he couldn't.
Right? It was like, what do I do now? And totally had to change the game plan because of the phenomenal roll. And then like feeling that hope there of like from going from like, oh man, like we're gonna have to listen to her get tortured and die here, to like, oh yay, she might get out yet. That was definitely a great moment of just, you know, non-participatory role playing that I got to hear. It was really cool.
Eric in Texas says, I consistently felt like if the group let Catherine take the lead on diplomatic issues, they stood a higher chance of success and less bloodshed.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a question, though. He also asks, Eric from Texas, for a brief time.
You do that.
He asked, for a brief time, Catherine started kicking tail with a bigger gun. Why did she have to give that one up?
Because we totally.
Hilariously, it wasn't much better than my other gun. I just rolled way better with that gun.
Kind of was better mechanically.
Oh, yeah.
Only like a little, but it was just like I just rolled way better.
You,
Is
But I missed it.
Kolsch's gun, that's why.
know.
but you
I
weren't
loved
strong
it.
enough to use it.
Yeah.
He's also Eric from Texas. Catherine and Kolsch were.
Let's answer that
Yeah.
question.
Oh, I
Took
thought you
away
did.
from me.
I'm sorry.
Mechanically, she didn't have the strength to use it. Right?
Yeah, mechanically it required like a strength of 13 or something, or you take huge, heavy recoil penalties.
And that was found after she
after
had,
the fact. We reckon that, and I was like, oh, that's why it does so much damage.
Pretty toy disintegrated.
Too bad.
Eric asks, Catherine and Kolsch were well played and very believable. Their demise together, while appropriate, was heartbreaking. Kolsch, if you had to do it over again and knowing that a fall from the window would cause you to get eaten by the bugs,
Oh, I knew I was dead. For
would
sure.
you take a different tack?
No. I mean, like, first instinct was like,
I would have opened the window first.
no, like, I knew
really hurts.
in that episode when it was Albus and Catherine and Kolsch all together, and we were given the choice to either turn left or turn right, and Albus just didn't even ask us. He's just like, we're going straight, we're doing this. Like, I knew we were fucked. I'm like, oh, we're all dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, how it worked out is how it worked out. I didn't really have any. The only other idea I had that went out the window real quick was like to plug her in the head and then plug myself in the head. But I figure like jumping out the window, like a 4-story drop, we were dead, and I didn't know there was 1,000. I mean, there was 1,000 bugs around. I didn't know they were all right there. But yeah, there's no.
Just waiting in line with lobster bibs on.
Yeah, I figured that better than just like waiting for them to like,
Yeah.
Come in and
just, like,
devour you.
Yeah.
My worst fear, someone mentioned during our break, by the way, they said, I want to go into the mine and like hold up or something like that.
Oh, that was
That was you?
That was
and I'm
August.
like, oh, that is going to be just a terrible way to go.
well. You should have said, okay, well.
Oh, and then you didn't go that route. But I was like, oh.
No. It's not that I didn't go that route. It's when I critically failed an attempt to map that, and you said all the data's lost, and I'm like, well, now what am I going to
Eric from Texas asks, can someone please get Devin a new set of dice?
The offer was made plenty of times.
Shit.
Oh. Eric from Texas asks, how valuable would Rill from season 1 and his blue mist have been this season?
yeah.
1,000 times?
No, we've had this discussion. No, it was actually determined a good route because we do. I think I didn't have the option because we had discussed it, which is what I'm talking about. But that the better part of the adventure was to explore the true negatives, the critical fails and whatnot would open doors instead of everything.
Oh, we shut a lot of doors with those, though.
Oh, yeah, I know, but
We opened
still.
a couple too.
But exploring the critical fails for what they weren't necessarily. I know this is a wrap-up episode. They weren't game ending, but some of them were to open up other avenues, exploring characters and different things like that. So
Blue mist would have been nice.
Eric from Texas asks,
this is a different Eric.
Tom, is there any particular set of rules you recommend for newbies? I would recommend D&D 5th edition for sure. It's a great system to get started in. If you just want to try it out, get the D&D starter set. It comes with pre-generated characters and essential rules. Then if you like that, get the DM's Guide, Player's Handbook, Monster Manual. start doing those adventures, then add other books as needed. It's just a simple, fun system to get going with. I have one here for Eric from Texas. He asked,
You can change the name from Erica from Texas.
he asked the group, who was your favorite NPC?
Oh.
Can I say the yellow glow?
The yellow glow ball with the K on it?
That's a good question.
Oh, I know mine.
Who's your favorite?
It was a girl that took Albus's.
Oh, the Snoo girl.
Yes, by Snoo.
I like, it's funny because it wasn't even much of an NPC, but when Catherine went and like on a whim just went and like talked to some of the other prophets, and you were like, oh, that guy's name is Outen, and I was like, great, and then you kept it going.
Oh yeah.
And then when he like was at the party and was like giving like a recount of what happened, and like every time he showed up, it was always like, oh, there he is. And it was like a nice just like way to keep continuity, and like I kept in my head being like, how is he still alive? Like, how did he make it this long? But yeah, I liked that.
I liked Captain Valencia just because he gave like Kolsch acknowledgement where he didn't really give anybody else. He gave Catherine a bunch of shit. But he would always
She had
pat.
it coming.
That's debatable. But like he'd always pat Kolsch and like give him credit for the fight, which like
Typical.
the one where he didn't do very good at. Yeah, and the share the. Is it Jimmy Talon?
Jim Taylor, Officer Jim Taylor.
Yeah, junior officer.
Hated
He was fun to give shit to. Yeah.
I really liked Talon because he played his part well.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Just completely not oblivious. He knew his responsibilities.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great interaction.
I liked Rutledge as one of my favorites, but my favorite accidental character would be Jeffrey.
Yes.
Oh,
We
my
gotta bring
God.
out Jeffrey. Jeffrey, yeah.
I hated Jeffrey, but he was the best
Oh.
at the same time.
Worry, did you have any plans for us to run into?
Oh, yeah. He wouldn't have been the big bad, but he was.
Jeffrey was X.
My plan was to have some sort of, and maybe probably 4 or 5 sessions, maybe down the road, an incidental side quest of a ship that's going through all sorts of hell and everything's falling apart. It's falling into the supernova. You bust into engineering to see if you can out, and it's Jeffrey. Hey guys!
Oh my god, that would have been.
That was going to be the next meeting of him.
I need some help.
We would have let him
You guys have an engineer
go into the
yet?
singularity.
I'm not doing so hot.
I've got a question from Eric from Texas. He says, how much of your own personalities are reflected in the characters you portray? I thought the switch from Epo to Albus was a good example of the characters being who they are as opposed to just being about you, and I commend him on both portrayals. But how much of your personalities are in the character?
A ton for Kolsch. A ton of Seth.
He was your cat, your furry version.
I based Kolsch 6 fingers off of my 6-fingered old man cat, who's just a cranky bastard. But yeah,
I don't know. I don't even know myself, so we'll just say all my characters are
Oh, we
me.
just got deep.
just different versions.
The actor studio.
You're before God.
And I don't know if this is incriminating or embarrassing. I think Avius was the closest character.
oh yeah,
That is incriminating.
Yeah.
That is incriminating.
Fairly true statement
I
there.
have to say, Catherine's love of snacks was definitely Jillian's snacks.
Space churros weren't
Really
beyond.
like churros a lot.
And cake.
Not so much cake, but I mean, like,
But it
there's
was there.
opportunities. You
It was
gotta
there.
try those things. So that was for sure just like a Jillian coming out and really needing those things. And I think there's definitely like aspects always that you sort of explore of yourself
Yeah,
when
you
you
have
do
to.
this. But some of the fun is like getting away from yourself and like getting to not live your everyday life. Every once in a while, Tom would put us in a position where my work life was really what I was then role playing, and I was
Right.
like, oh my god, I want to die. So
I've tried to not be the pilot every time.
here you are.
I don't think you tried.
I
No.
did.
No, he did.
And
I
Albus
did.
47P, Catherine was all about it.
So Albus was not. I did not want Albus to be a pilot. But Tom's like, but you guys don't have a pilot. So
And he got piloting and got skills in it. He was ready to go, and his first roll was just crappy, and then you guys just dumped all over him the rest of the adventure.
Hell yeah.
It's like his first impressions.
I don't remember if I told you part of his background. Like he was created from the remains of a former prophet who was the pilot of the Vesper. So that's why Albus
Wow,
first-
that's
You knew
That's
about the
pretty
Vesper
cool.
That's
before the
pretty
rest
damn
of
cool.
us.
Albus didn't have this guy's.
Or did we already
memories, But he had like essence of
Sure.
this guy. So that's why when he got in the cockpit, he was flipping. He knew exactly what he was doing because he had this guy's
That's
like,
badass.
former.
I need to
former
go back and listen to
skills,
these
like,
episodes.
in his subconscious.
Wow.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love
You
that.
super screwed
And then I
it up
fucked it up.
immediately.
Going back for a minute to favorite moments when you introduced the Vesper to us was
Yeah.
magical.
It was overdue.
Yeah, you put it up on the screen like what it looked like, and we were like, oh my god.
Like how
So we started again with those 4 Starfinder Lost episodes. You guys got this really crappy, junky, everything falling apart ship. When we restarted with episode 1, that's aired on our show here, everyone's like, "What kind of ship? You can listen. Okay, what's the ship like? Oh no!" And I said it's glorious and everything, but it's not yours, and someone has to sign for it. So that's that whole stressful borrowed ship thing. And you guys did great. Augie didn't get screwed over by it. And then it's like you guys have earned a good ship. Yeah, I thought that was great. All right, I have a question from someone in Texas by the name of Eric.
With a K, right?
Yes.
Eric with a K.
And he says, he asks, so Augie, you survived. What's next for Augie?
Yeah, well, I keep the sunglasses. That visual was so unfair, though. It was like everyone's dying, and I pull off this silly
Lamborghini.
David, whatever his name is, David. Yeah. So, what's next for August? Well, I have the benefit of having connection with Epomene, who I find is still there. There's still the desire to visit the cartel and enact some sort of revenge on them. So August would probably lean his dealings in the prophets towards working with the working against the cartel directly. But I have to say, there is such a love with the concept of the Legion. That's just so much there.
I
That just
understood why they like attacked that one moment.
doesn't matter. They did. And I wanted to dive into that, figure that out, but it's just totally great concept. But
For the Legion, there's different sects and different groups within, and this was a weird religious sect that doesn't have full authorization of the main group, where they're at this peace with the Nova Alliance, and they understand to go get that prize, that X prize, if you will, and they're going to be damned about any treaty, and they're committing, and they had to get a solar power in particular to get this stone, which was going to help move them in the right direction. All right, Tom, have some questions. Eric, you've had enough airtime.
Eric's our 6th player now.
Yeah. For the players that were here in season 1, you had this successful season, lots of adventures together. Now you're starting a brand new season 2, with all new adventures and all new characters. What was the change you were looking to bring to the game to your new character for season 2? Like, this season I wanted to do X differently.
I wanted to do some damage. Because, I mean, I had Puck, and then I had Valiant.
Yeah.
Who she was all right, but I rolled terrible with her, and I just wanted to do some DPS. That's why I went with
All right.
Kolsch.
For me, the switch from Elmon to Devin is Elmon was always sort of the outlier in the moral compass of the group, although towards the end he sort of What?
I love the moral compass, and you said it with a straight face.
No, the outlier. Outlier.
Yeah, I was the outlier of the moral. Although towards the end, I was sort of kind of being like,
you took a turn.
Why are you guys jerks? And then Devin definitely, was more probably noble-ish than Elmon was. He definitely, especially finding out we were the prophets and things like that, I wanted to try to really kind of fit in to that mold versus, the guy who kills the kobold because he's, a kobold. Which I got shit for like 8 episodes.
I really enjoyed Avius in season 1. It was a lot of fun for me.
He seemed like a hard act to follow, too.
Yeah.
So yes, but I also didn't want to I didn't want to just be Avius version 2 in season 2. I didn't want to, but I still wanted to be funny, but just in different. So I just went with this totally deadpan
Spock, I think, is how you pitched him to me.
Yeah, deadpan Spock kind of character. So yeah, completely. Because I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh yeah, he's always the weird, stupid guy. So.
And then Ippo started out just kind of this distant dude, but then I think you found him several episodes in where it was, okay, I get how he acts.
Yeah.
My other question.
Hold on.
Oh, we got more? Sure.
Holgrim was boisterous and charging headlong into fights and whatnot.
Getting eaten by krakens.
Getting eaten, yes. I'm very flexible on where I go and how I go, so I kind of fit into these little holes that whatever the group needs. But on a personal level, I love, and I think I transferred over pretty successfully, just the spontaneity, diving into trouble and whatnot. So it didn't matter what the character was I was going to play, but then that was my driving force there that I brought over. So
I do want to raise a glass to you, Christopher, for being the only person who has not had a character die.
Yeah.
Wow.
Between the 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, a character retired, but no death.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, that's my next question. In the past, we've had characters die and we have had characters retire. We've never had a character leave the campaign because they were fired. Tim, what was it like having that big chat with Captain Valencia where he said, I don't think you belong with the Prophet?
I'm going to be super honest here. It was hard. I took a little bit of that personally. But I tried not to, but it was a little hard because, like we talked about earlier, I was finally finding Ippo at that point, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So that was a little rough, but over the next week or two,
yeah, we chatted. What did you want to do? And I was expecting, hey, I want to keep going with Ippo, and then you suggested maybe he retire or leave or something, and I think that ended up being a good decision for Ippo. I think he would have ended up in just more and more trouble.
Yeah. I don't think Ippo would have been able to change.
That was such an awkward ass moment.
It was.
Oh, it was big.
It was. I don't know if you guys could see it, but my face was getting red and warm, and
all of us were like, should we just back out?
And I don't know if this made it into the episode, but I manage staff members, and when I have to have counseling sessions, I always like to have a witness there just so there's no discrepancy in the stories or things. And I finally figured out how awkward it would be for the person not having the conversation, just sitting there listening, because I'm like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable.
just walking into the room with Valencia, he's got a box of your things sitting there.
You can see our viewership drops right after that episode. Oh. All right. I have 2 questions for Jillian. I have been waiting 16 episodes to ask. I have been dying to ask
Are
these.
you asking me to leave?
Can you?
To be fair, it's a
Do
good
you
time.
see the door?
It's a good segue.
When we started the Inglorious Bards, the original group, we had all known each other, had been role-playing together for a long time. We record our first season of 37 episodes. We then start season 2, open up to a new player. Jillian, what was it like dropping into the group? You have a bunch of guys who have this gaming group, this podcast set up. They know each other really well. And then you decide to dive into this craziness with us. What was that like?
In a basement with a plastic skeleton. I
I mean, there were definitely some things that made me nervous right off the bat. But yeah, no.
Tim.
and I was even trying to hold back.
Yeah, I think, we had like an audition process and it was fun. And I think it was really about trying to draw people out and getting them to trust me as much as the other way around, and getting a handle on like who was gonna do what and who I could throw things at. And so it was a little, you're nervous the first round. You don't want to like make something super lame happen, and then everyone's like, "Oh, who's this dead weight?" But yeah, I mean, it was.
There's still time for that.
There's still like there's you get a good sense of who people are and what gets them excited and what can engage them. So it was fun from day one, which is why I wanted to be here.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Good.
Question 2 for Jillian.
No boy.
How dare you? No, Jillian, so you done and still do a bunch of other role playing. So you do a little audition concept. You let us know what your interests are. You join us. You've heard the show as you sampled it to see if this is something you want. You have expectations about what it might be. What were your expectations, and how did they match or not match up at all when you showed up and started joining us? Something with the room, the people, the adventures, was something much better or much worse? What were the differences in what you thought it would be and how it turned out?
Well, much, much worse, but no, I think it's a different, Tom, you as a GM, you have a very clear story to tell, and we have a lot of options within that story, but there's a concept that you feel strongly about, and I'm happy to join it. It gives us something to grab onto really quickly, and that's really helpful when you're trying to keep a story going, but it's a little bit different where often in other groups I've played in, there's sort of like the DM will just sit back and like watch the struggle while you figure out what to do next. And Tom, like, you'll do that a little bit, and then sometimes you'll just throw us a bone, which is nice. But it's also just a way more intense game. Like in my other games, nobody, like, you might die if you've got a bunch of unlucky rolls and things just go wrong, but it's probably not going to happen. And this game, you're always sort of a little on edge. I'm always a little bit
Inches from
stressed
death.
out. Yeah.
We're craving plot armor, and we get none.
So it's been a bit of a different experience, but not, it's been fun in its own way. So yeah.
All right. Several times we made fun of poor Devin missing with his Esper abilities. What was the time he landed an ability that was really important or really cool or substantial for you?
I don't think ever.
No, we were on the satellite. You were
White
kicking ass.
The solar array?
Yeah, the solar array. You were keeping
yeah.
us
Out in that
lifted.
Yeah. The big
That
like
was
battle
important.
on like that was like a multi-level.
The with the big like plasma liquid thing being flipped around.
Like, I think Devin like wiped out like 3 guys there, and then
You did good at the final battle with Rutledge too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not the final, but I mean, you took
I did
took
okay.
out the couple.
I did like the moment when I got kicked out the window. And then use my gravity disc to just sort of like float back.
You Marty McFly back up into the roof. I
I really enjoyed playing that moment out. And then I guess when when I was piloting the ship, I did pretty well. When Albus was outside of the,
You did.
yeah, Albus.
Oh,
was
yeah.
outside with the contagion thing.
Yeah. And you were like,
Getting hit by
I guess
ships.
I'm piloting now.
Yeah, and like I'm the only one on the bridge, and then like there's like ships attacking. I'm like, hey, we'll be back. Just like this, like.
There was a moment, and it was in one of the last episodes, where Tom shows us, like, no offense, Tom, but the dumbest map ever. It's like 3 parallel hallways that don't connect to each other
yeah.
very well. And he's like, what do you do? And we're like, okay, we're fighting. And Devin's like, I walk the other way. And we're like, what? He just spends like 3 turns walking down one of those parallel roads. And I was like, what is he doing? And then like one guy comes down the hall. And he's like, I explode that guy's head.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember that.
That was pretty cool.
Yes, that was amazing.
My next question, this is a short one. Did we all forget about poor Olliup?
Oh, Olliup got eaten.
He got left behind
Yeah.
Yeah,
in the Rutledge office.
yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what were we gonna do? We were
But
trying to
no
save
one
everybody.
talked to him or radioed him or get out.
He was a little bit of a pompous dick, but he was letting that
I mean, he was in charge of
Presidency
the,
or whatever kinda get to
the
his head.
planet. He could do whatever the f he wanted.
Just
apparently.
left him.
We had bigger.
We were
bigger
busy.
matters.
All right.
Yeah, maybe if we would have survived, we would have
Can we retcon
thought
that?
about it, but
Let's go
we were
back.
too busy dying.
Yeah.
Devin needed to pray.
So we mentioned these secret lost episodes from the Starfighter. These were pre-episode 1s. We had some adventures in there. I was planning on bringing back several of those different characters into this copy of the game, if you will. So I was gonna bring back Little Boy and Jimmy Rhodes.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I did bring back Dr. Leslie Holland.
Yep.
So if you're ever listening and they go to the Alliance Science Corps and there's just this random character who comes into the middle for no reason and then leaves and everyone's like, oh. It was just a Leslie who doesn't know you guys. And I was going to have her come back later too. And kind of maybe I thought, because you guys there's like this investment. You've had time with this person
Would've liked-
in life and death before.
I like Little Boy a lot.
Yeah.
And the
Maybe
meat,
that's
the
great,
meat
too.
guy again.
Other random trivia, also from the lost episodes. Does anyone remember the name of the way station that you went to at the end of episode B of the lost episodes?
Total.
No?
Oh.
The random trip. This is hard. It was it was the way station A113.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
Right,
isn't
yeah,
that the
yeah.
world ship Arnua?
No.
A113.
Just a little Easter egg for any listeners that aren't familiar. That is the world famous Pixar Easter egg that they put into every single movie. That was their classroom that they went to when first learning animation, and it's hidden in every single movie. There'll be an A113. I just put it in there for no reason. I like doing that
Funding
stuff.
us?
No.
Surprise.
I have 3 other bits of random trivia, and
Cease and desist from Pixar now.
that's all I got. Random trivia. The crew of the hijacked cargo ship Star Thrust Courier, which was Captain Orgrava, his engineer, and his robot 59, they were absolutely, totally being set up to be your best buddies for life. They were going to be reliable. You could contact them. They were going to be set up because you guys helped them. And then someone throws out this line of, hey, we're about to throw you into jail for slavery. And that whole relationship just came to an end
I
immediately.
think somebody also wanted to steal the robot.
Yeah.
Yeah, wanted to parts the
That was actually me. Also, they were though. So and we're prophets. You don't find that shit and be like, it's cool. You didn't know.
Yeah, whatever. Other
Just seems like an EPO thing to do, though.
it
Yeah,
does.
it does, but no.
No. Other random trivia. During the intros of each episode, I give a little intro of what the episode's about, and I'll say, hey, everyone, welcome to Inglorious Bards. I'm like your magnanimous game master, Tom. That adjective I use is the exact same adjective from season 1 and episode by episode
figured that out.
parallel. Yeah.
Ah.
Just cause. And the last thing I have here for our wrap up is a bit of long trivia. It's 1985. And there's a hit show out there, a cop procedural called Miami Vice. And I'm going somewhere with this.
Oh no.
At episode 5, so 4 episodes in, they get rid of one of their characters, this Captain Lou guy, who's this generic New York busting balls cop type guy. And they go ahead and they hire this big Latino stage actor named Edward James Olmos. You might know him as Captain Odama, but back then he's this thin, wiry, dressed in all black dude. They bring him in. And so Edward James Olmos comes in, and this is a big show. And you've got this big ego Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas, huge egos. They know they're knocking it out of the park, and they're acting the crap out of this scene, and they're just dominating it. And there's recordings of Edward saying, I wasn't sure how to handle this situation. So what I did is I turned my backs on them and I didn't engage them in the scene. And so they couldn't come over the top of me because I'm not even looking at them. And I give them monotone responses. And I would spend my time looking at a perfectly clean desk, looking at paperwork. And when the big moment happened, I would finally make eye contact. He was very distant and very withdrawn. And he is Captain Valencia. Mm-hmm. That's where Captain Valencia came from. Everything about Captain Valencia I pretty much took from. So I'm so excited that Captain Castillo from 1985 exists 30 years later out in space. And what's interesting to me is the same things those actors said was it was so frustrating. It was this, and their characters as well. It was frustrating to deal with, but yet our Captain Castillo was still there for us when everything came down to it. Yeah. He wanted to get the job done. And I saw that with you guys as well, particularly Catherine. Like, oh, I hate this guy. He's such an asshole, Captain Valencia. But yet he was still there for you guys when things really needed to get done. So he may not agree with you, but the job would still get done in the end. I just thought that was kind of cool. So that's all I have. Do you guys have any other questions for each other or anything at all? No. All right. Well, that's what we have. So from all of us here at the Inglorious Bards, thank you so much for listening to season 2. We had an absolute blast. Thanks for all your support. If you want to support the show more, you can go leave a review. Would be really helpful. Put a little rating or review on iTunes or Podbean, wherever you're listening. That helps us get more exposure, and that'd be great. And hopefully we'll see you for season 3. So thanks. Bye.